Okay, next is Ed. Ed says, do you suggest copying and pasting the schema markup from the ID page to my SEO Shield or the ID page of my SEO Shield onto my money site to mirror it best for implementation? Good idea, bad idea, any better ideas? Or should the ID page stay standalone? Don't want to F the money. Don't want to F up the money site. Thanks, Ed. Yeah, I mean, the structured data code on your ID page should be the same as what's on your money site, except for perhaps, at least the way that I do it, except for perhaps the URL from the schema code. So for example, the schema code that goes on the money site, the URL field points to the money site, right? And then there's the add ID page and all that other stuff. And that all points to where it's supposed to point to. But then on the ID page, I always put the URL as the ID page, and then the add ID page is also the same, but it's the same code essentially. And then the difference is the same as, in the same as schema, I always put the same as attribute on the money site points to, even though there's an add ID designation, I also point the same as to the ID page. Like I put a same as attribute to the ID page. And then likewise on the ID page, I have a same as attribute that points to the money site. Marco, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the structured data should be any different on either one of them, really. Besides,
no, because you're mirroring your entity, except for the fact of that URL change.
That's right.
The same as changes, because now the schema page is the same as the money site, but the money site would then have the schema page same as.
Right.
So you need to flip those, and that's the only difference that you should have, because it's basically the same thing. You're distributing. It's an entity stack. It's your entity stack. That's all it is. And so everywhere that you can replicate the entity, the information should go there.
Yeah, and it should be the same, because you don't want to have different. Yeah, you don't want to have different entity info on different assets, because again, that can start causing ambiguation or confusion to Google's algorithm. So definitely keep it the same. That goes for the Press Advantage page too. Your organization page, same thing. I do the same thing there. It's the same schema code. It goes into, if you have an account, you can add your own structured data to the organization page. Do the same thing there. The URL points to the organization page, and then the same as attributes, it points to the money site and as well to the ID page and all of that. So it's the same code in all three locations. The only thing you do is swap out those couple targets to make it appropriate for the asset that it resides on, if that makes sense.